He left his family for her. What happened next will shock you. Meet Dmitri, a man trapped in a cold Moscow life, and Anna, a lonely soul he meets in sunny Yalta. Their love sparks fast, but it's risky. Will it last, or is it a trap? Watch their story unfold and see the twist that changes everything. You won't believe it. I sat at my desk in Moscow, the faint hum of the city drifting through the window. Papers were piled high, ledger sheets, bank reports, numbers that never seemed to end. My pen scratched across the page, but my mind was elsewhere. My wife Irina was downstairs, her sharp voice barking orders at the maid. We'd been married for years, ever since I was too young to know better, and now it felt like living with a stranger. 2 kids ran through the house, my daughter's laughter echoing, my son's footsteps thumping. But even they couldn't fill the hollow space inside me. I'd had affairs before, brief flings with women whose names I barely remembered. They were distractions, nothing more. I craved something real, something to shake me out of this gray, endless routine. That's why I went to Yalta. I told myself it was a break, a chance to clear my head. The sea air, the warm sun, it sounded like a cure for the restlessness gnawing at me. I packed a bag, left a note for Irina, and took the train south, watching the dreary Moscow streets fade into rolling fields. When I stepped off the train in Yalta, the breeze hit me first. Warm, salty, carrying the faint scent of fish and seaweed. The promenade stretched out ahead, lined with white buildings that gleamed in the sunlight. Gulls cried overhead, and the waves rolled in with a steady rhythm. I checked into a small hotel, my room overlooking the water, and spent the first day wandering. The cobblestone streets were alive with people, vendors hawking fruit, children chasing each other, couples strolling arm in arm. It was beautiful, but after a few days, the charm wore thin. I'd come here to escape, but I didn't know what I was escaping to. Then I saw her. It was late afternoon, and I was sipping tea at an outdoor cafe when she walked by. She had fair hair that caught the light, tucked under a gray beret, and a little white dog trotted at her heels. There was something about her, a quiet grace, a hint of melancholy in the way she moved. She didn't rush like the others. She seemed lost in thought, her eyes fixed on the horizon. I watched her stop to pet her dog, her fingers brushing its fur, and my chest tightened. Who was she? Why was she here alone? I started seeing her everywhere after that. On the beach, her skirt swaying in the breeze. At the market, her dog sniffing at a basket of apples. Each time I'd linger nearby, trying to work up the nerve to speak. My heart would pound, a nervous thud I hadn't felt in years. One day I couldn't take it anymore. She was standing near the shore watching the waves, her dog digging in the sand. I walked over, hands in my pockets, and cleared my throat. "Cute dog," I said, nodding at the little guy. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. A small, warm smile that lit her face. "Thanks. His name's Toto," she said. Her voice was soft, with a trace of a tremble, like she wasn't used to strangers. We talked for a while. Her name was Anna Sergeyevna, and she was staying in Yalta alone, waiting for her husband to join her. She didn't say much about him, but I caught a flicker of sadness when his name came up. I told her about myself, my job at the bank, my kids, my life in Moscow. I left out the part about my marriage being a cold, empty shell, but I think she guessed. There was a knowing look in her eyes, like she understood more than I was saying. That afternoon, we walked along the beach together. Toto darted ahead, chasing crabs, and we laughed as he yipped at the waves. The sun was low, painting the water gold, and the air smelled of salt and wildflowers. Our shoulders brushed once, then twice, and each time a spark shot through me. She'd glance at me, her eyes bright and searching, and I'd wonder what she saw. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. The next day, I couldn't stop smiling. I met Anna at a cafe by the pier, the wooden planks creaking under our feet. She was already there, sipping tea. Toto curled up beside her. When she saw me, her face softened and my pulse quickened. We spent hours together, wandering through Yalta. At the market, the air was thick with the smell of fresh bread and ripe oranges. Anna haggled with a vendor over a scarf, her voice firm but kind, and I watched, charmed by her quiet strength. Toto tried to snatch a piece of cheese from a stall, and we both burst out laughing. the sound mingling with the chatter around us. Later, we climbed a path to the cliffs overlooking the sea. The view was breathtaking. Endless blue water, the sun glinting off the waves. We sat on a flat rock, the stone warm beneath us, and watched the horizon in silence. After a while, Anna turned to me, her expression serious. "Tell me about Moscow," she said. "Are you happy there?" Her question caught me off guard. No one had ever asked me that. Not Irina, not my friends. "I don't know," I said, staring at the water. "I have a good job, a family, a house, but it's not enough. I feel stuck." She nodded, her fingers tracing a line in the dust. "I know what you mean," she said quietly. "My husband's a decent man, but I don't love him. I haven't for a long time." Her words sank in, heavy and familiar. I reached for her hand, and she let me take it. Her skin was soft, her grip tentative but warm. We sat there, hands clasped, the sound of the waves washing over us. I wanted to pull her close, to tell her she wasn't alone in feeling this way, but I just held her hand, letting the moment stretch. That evening, we walked back to town as the sky turned pink. The streets were quieter now, the air cooler. We stopped by a fountain, water trickling softly, and stood close. Her eyes met mine, and something snapped inside me. I leaned in, my heart hammering, and kissed her. It was gentle at first, then deeper, her lips soft and trembling against mine. When we pulled back, she looked at me wide-eyed, her breath quick. "What are we doing?" she whispered. I didn't have an answer, but I knew I didn't want to stop. From then on, we stole every moment we could. One morning, we took a boat out on the water. The sun was high, the sea calm, and the boat rocked gently as we drifted. Anna trailed her fingers in the water, smiling as droplets splashed her arm. "It's so peaceful here," she said, and I nodded, watching her more than the view. Another night, we slipped into a tiny restaurant tucked off the main street. The room was dim, lit by candles, and a violin played somewhere in the corner. We sat at a small table, our knees brushing under the cloth, and shared a bottle of wine. The taste was sharp and sweet, warming me from the inside. She told me more about her life that night. She'd married young, like me, to a man she barely knew. "He's kind," she said, swirling her glass, "but he doesn't see me. Not really." I reached across the table, brushing her cheek with my thumb. "I see you," I said, and her eyes glistened with unshed tears. We left the restaurant hand in hand, the night air cool against our skin, and kissed again by the shore, the waves a steady heartbeat behind us. But the real world wouldn't stay away. One morning, Anna met me with a tight frown. "My husband's coming," she said, holding up a telegram. "He'll be here in 3 days." My stomach dropped. "What will you do?" I asked, my voice rough. She looked away, her fingers twisting the paper. "I don't know. I can't leave him. Not yet. But this..." She gestured between us. "I don't want to lose it." I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight, the scent of her hair, like lavender and salt, filling my lungs. Our last days were a blur of stolen moments. We walked the beach at dawn, the sand cool under our feet, Toto scampering ahead. We sat on our bench by the sea, watching the sun set in a blaze of orange and red. "I'll never forget you," Anna said, her voice breaking. "You've changed everything." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "You've changed me too," I said, and I meant it. When it was time for her to go, I walked her to the station. The platform was chaos, people shouting, bags clattering, but all I saw was her. She hugged me, her body trembling, and I felt her tears against my neck. "Goodbye, Dmitri," she whispered. I couldn't speak, just held her until the train whistle pierced the air. She boarded, looking back once, her eyes red but steady. Then the train pulled away and she was gone. Moscow was unbearable after that. The house felt colder, Irina's voice sharper. I'd sit at my desk, staring at nothing, replaying every moment with Anna. The sound of her laugh, the feel of her hand in mine. I tried to bury myself in work, but it was useless. She was in my head, my heart, every breath. Months later, I saw her again. I was at a theater, the lights dim, when I spotted her a few rows ahead. My heart stopped. After the show, I followed her outside, my legs shaky. "Anna," I called. She turned, her face lighting with shock. "Dimitri," she said, stepping closer. We found a cafe and talked until the place emptied out. She'd moved to a town nearby with her husband, but nothing had changed. "I think about you all the time," she said, her voice low. "So do I admitted, my hands clenched around my cup. We sat in silence, the air thick with everything we couldn't say. Walking out into the night, I took her hand. "We'll figure it out," I said, my voice firm. She smiled, a real hopeful smile, and squeezed my hand back. I didn't know how we'd make it work. Two people tangled in lives we didn't want. But with her beside me, I felt something I hadn't in years, a reason to try. So our story ends here. If you want to see more story like this, then click on the video on your screen. I will see you there.